What is going on, YouTube? Andrew Miller from Hook'emHeadlines.com coming back at y'all today with a recruiting update for some of Texas's top priority in-state targets in the 2024 class. It's been a little while since I had done a recruiting update for the Longhorns. I think the last one I did was around a couple of months ago in the midst of spring ball. So I picked out 10 recruits here for the Longhorns in the 2024 class that I think have some important updates in the last couple of months. You know, official visit season's looming large. A lot of these guys also made visits to Austin during spring ball, really since I did the last update. So there's some new information, new updates out there. And I get it, there's going to be more than 10 guys in state that the Longhorns are kicking the tires on or prioritizing right now in the 2024 class. But again, wanting to give some updates on some key guys here. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into it. The first one up on the list is a four-star wide receiver that already has a commitment date set and has taken multiple trips to the 40 acres in the last few months. That's four-star Schertz Smithson Valley wide receiver Freddie Dubose Jr. Unfortunately for Dubose, he had a knee injury end his 2022 season. He's still recovering ahead of the 2023 season at Smithson Valley. And his commitment date is set for August 25th. And so, you know, he's got a few schools that are still in the running here to land his commitment, but I think that for Texas, one of the big things here is going to be making a big impression. You probably got one or two visits before it comes to his decision date. The most critical of which among those visits is going to be his official visit on starting on June 16th. But, you know, I think that Texas sits in a good spot with Dubose right now. Like I said, there's a few in-state schools in the running here. I think some of the biggest threats here for Texas are going to be like Texas A&M. TCU's made a push for him here lately. But, yeah, I mean, like I said, Texas sits in a good spot. You know, they need to make a big impression on him during that official visit in mid-June. But, they've been taking the right steps here, and I think, again, keep doing what they're doing, keep their foot on the gas, and I think there will be a spot for Dubose in the 2024 class. Next up on the list, I've got four-star Temple Lake Belton cornerback Selman Bridges. This is one of my favorite priority targets that Texas is pursuing in the 2024 class. Texas has made a lot of progress here lately with Bridges. He made his first visit to Austin on March 25th for the second junior day of the offseason. That was for the Texas Cookout and the open practice / scrimmage. But, cornerbacks coach Terry Joseph is leading this recruitment, but also Sark himself has been in on this recruitment, in pretty constant communication with Bridges. I've mentioned this in past videos and in articles on the site. I just did one mentioning Bridges among 3 must-get in-state recruits for Texas this summer, but whenever Sark's involved and is communicating this much with a defensive priority in the in any recruiting class, not just the 2024 class, that's a good sign of how much Texas values that recruit. And it sounds like Bridges really knows that. He's kind of feeling the love from Texas. But again, I think Texas kind of holds the pole position in this recruitment right now. Yeah, they've made a really, really solid impression on Bridges and his camp during the junior day visit a couple of months ago. They also have an official visit set up with Bridges this summer. I believe he's on the docket for late June. Let me check to confirm that. Yeah, June 23rd is the start of his official visit to Austin. He's also got an official visit to watch that will be June 16th to Arkansas. But I like where Texas is right now in this recruitment. Like I said, I think they sit in the lead, and if they continue to push with Bridges the way they have in the last few months, then this is definitely one that is Texas's recruitment to lose heading into the fall. I mentioned this in my article that I did though on Bridges the other day, that it looks like his decision date is trending more toward the early signing period, so that would be mid-December. Obviously, if Texas can get him to move up that decision timeline, that would be great. But Texas is playing a patient game for this 2024 class, and I think Selman Bridges is one of those guys that patient approach could really pay dividends once you move into the first signing day in December. Next up on the list, I've got four-star North Richland Hills, Richland High School interior offensive lineman Daniel Cruz. Cruz is clearly one of the top interior offensive line priorities in the 2024 class for Kyle Flood and the Longhorns. Cruz was another guy that I mentioned on my article among the must-get in-state recruits for Texas in the 2024 class this summer. Texas has been prioritizing Cruz for, it feels like, more than a year now. He's been one of their top interior offensive linemen on the recruiting board for, I feel like since last summer I've been talking about him. He's got an official visit date set to see Texas. But he's someone that's had multiple successful visits to the 40 acres. He has a very tight relationship with Kyle Flood. And like I said, one of the key things I wanted to mention in my article was that, the fact that Daniel Cruz is like 6'3", 6'4", 275. He's not really close to 300 pounds yet. And Kyle Flood wants him this much. This isn't the usual mold, that usual big human, longer wingspan, longer arms, bigger frame that Kyle Flood likes, especially along the interior offensive line. That speaks a lot to Cruz's skill set, how adept he is at moving bodies off the line of scrimmage, especially blocking for the run. But he's a reliable guy that can really hold his own in pass pro up the middle as well. And so I really like him, and I think he's definitely going to be one of the first takes along the offensive line in the 2024 class. And yes, his official visit date is confirmed for that same weekend as Freddie Dubose, the weekend of June 24th. Next up on the list, I've got 5-star wide receiver and Selman Bridges' teammate at Temple Lake Belton High School, Micah Hudson. Hudson's a guy that, I think is one of the biggest names, one of the headliners for Texas among the priority in-state recruits in the 2024 class. Many of the major recruiting services have him rated as the #1 wide receiver in the state of Texas and one of the top 2 or 3 wide receivers overall in the nation in the 2024 class. He's obviously a key target on the board for Chris Jackson, the wide receivers coach, and even Sark. Sark is someone that has invested a good amount of time in this recruitment as well. But this recruitment is going to get interesting during the summer because I don't know if Hudson's going to take a lot of his official visits during the summer. I don't think he has anything on the docket yet. And, while he might take some unofficials, I don't think Texas is the school that has a lot of the buzz in this recruitment right now. Texas Tech seems to be the leader at the moment. His family's got a lot of connections to Texas Tech, and he's been to Lubbock quite a bit since last fall. I think he's had 2 or 3 unofficial visits, including one in March. So, he really likes what Joey McGuire, Zach Kitley, those guys got going on in Lubbock. And, they're obviously promising him the world and more in terms of immediate playing time and immediate impact ability. He's going to come in and probably start from day one for the Red Raiders. So it's going to be a tough recruitment for the Longhorns. There's some other big players involved in this recruitment. Schools like Texas A&M, Ohio State are still obviously keeping their foot on the gas here. But Texas Tech and Texas might be the 2 schools that are battling it out for Hudson in the end. If Texas can't, Texas needs to get Hudson to campus during the summer. They need to make up some of the ground here compared to Texas Tech. I think that's going to be one of the big moves they need to make. But I'll continue to keep finger on the pulse in this recruitment because I don't necessarily think it's fully trending Texas's way. I don't think it's any reason to panic either right now. There's still quite a long ways to go in this recruitment. But like I said, one to follow heading into the summer. Next up, I've got 5-star Waco Connolly cornerback, Kobe Black. One of my favorite prospects in the 2024 class, the guy that's been one of the top in-state defensive backs for a long time now in this cycle as well. I believe most major recruiting services have him rated as the top cornerback in the state of Texas in the 2024 class. He's someone that Texas is looking really good for right now. Texas, I think, sits in a really good spot here. Kobe Black and Selman Bridges both really like what they've seen out of Texas so far. Both had successful visits to the 40 acres for each of the junior days. Kobe Black was on campus for the first junior day of the offseason on the weekend of January 21st. And then Bridges was on campus, as I mentioned before, for the second junior day on March 25th. But, Texas is one of the few schools that Kobe Black has gone out to see this offseason. And, he's been hearing a lot from Terry Joseph. I believe Pete Kwiatkowski is also involved in this recruitment as well. But I don't think that there are many higher priorities on the board right now for Texas among cornerback recruits out of any state, let alone in-state, in the 2024 class than Kobe Black. And I think there's still probably a few more months to go in this recruitment at the very least, but Texas, I'm confident enough to say that Texas holds the lead right now, and if they keep trending in the direction they have for the last few months, they're going to be the favorites heading into, whenever Kobe Black is ready to make his decision, which I believe will be around the fall, by my understanding from the latest update there. Next up on the list, I've got Alex January, four-star defensive lineman out of Duncanville High School in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Someone that Bo Davis and the Longhorns have liked for a while, and Texas had their foot in the door earlier than most schools in this recruitment. January's recruitment kind of blew up during the winter, but Texas was pretty keen on him for I think like the last 6 months, and so I like where they sit right now. He's taken quite a few visits to Texas this offseason. He's been a very frequent visitor on campus. 3 visits since the turn of the calendar year, including both junior days and then the spring game as well a couple of weekends ago. He's also got an official visit date set for the weekend of June 24th. So the same one as a couple other prospects I've mentioned in this video. I believe he just set that official visit date here last week, or earlier this week. So, Texas has been making him one of their top priorities among in-state defensive line recruits. He fits that big human mold that, Bo Davis likes in the trenches. I think he's someone that might be a little bit more of a developmental guy. It might take him a couple of years to crack the 2 deep, but he's someone that has that has really high upside, has good physical tools, and like I said, that Bo Davis really, really likes as someone that could be an anchor along the defensive line in the future that comes in the 2024 class. Next up on the list, I've got 4-star safety Corian Gipson, highly touted blue chipper out of Lancaster High School, again also in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And Gibson's had one of the more I guess a good way to put it is his recruitment's been one of the more winding roads in the last few months, in the sense that there's been a lot of surprises, a lot of twists and turns, things like that. It seemed like heading into the offseason that Texas, if there was a leader, it was probably the Longhorns. But there's, 2 schools out east that have been making huge pushes for Gipson and made really big impressions on him in the last few months. Alabama and Clemson are making Gipson one of their top priorities among defensive backs for the 2024 class. Got to the point where I think it was like a couple of weeks ago, Gipson visited Clemson, I think, for their spring game on April 15th, and he really liked what he saw from Dabo Swinney and co. And I don't know necessarily if that noise has continued as much. It seems like it has died down here in the last week, but Clemson is one of the schools that Gipson will be officially visiting. Clemson gets the first official visit in June, and he's officially visiting Alabama on June 9th. Texas has the official visit on the weekend of June 24th. So, again, massive official visit weekend there in late June. But this is also going to be one that Texas really has to press all the right buttons, because they might get the final official visit here. I think that they need to make a move to really assert themselves again atop, some of the top schools in this recruitment, because Alabama and Clemson have made up a lot of ground here lately. But again, I don't think that this is one that Blake Gideon and PK are going to be thrown in the towel for. Corian is clearly one of their top safety targets in the 2024 class, if not the top in-state safety target for this cycle. So, again, one that I'll be keeping my eye on very close moving forward, because I think similar to Micah Hudson's recruitment, that this one is not done with all the twists and turns and craziness yet. And the next recruitment that I wanted to discuss is 5-star edge rusher and Duncanville superstar Colin Simmons. In my opinion, the top recruit in the state of Texas at any position in the 2024 class. Simmons is someone that pretty much every major school in the country wants, and his decision is going to come down to Texas and a handful of other SEC schools. I think TCU could still play a role here, but Simmons has made it pretty clear in the last few, actually really since last fall, that the SEC is where he wants to play, and the fact that his true freshman campaign is going to be Texas's first year in the SEC is something that has really helped out the Longhorns in this recruitment, again, since last fall. Texas had Simmons on campus for the second junior day of the offseason, so March 25th. He got to see the open practice and scrimmage, but he had a pretty busy spring visit schedule. Got out to Texas A&M, TCU, LSU. I don't think he got out to see Georgia, but Oregon, Florida, I digress. He was very, very busy during the spring, and He doesn't have his officials set yet for the summer. I don't 100% know if he's going to be taking all of his officials during the summer or if he's going to wait till the fall, because his decision timeline is probably going to be going until December. I don't know how much Texas has really moved in this recruitment in the last few months. I don't think they lost any ground. They had a good visit with him during junior day, and I think Texas is going to have to show him a lot on the field this fall. I've talked about this before with Simmons. For Texas, it's just going to be about proving on the field that this program's still headed in the right direction, and they will have a formidable defense heading into the SEC in 2024. If they can prove that to Simmons, they're going to be right there at the end. Next up on the list, I've got four-star, and actually the only Texas commit on this list is four-star athlete / wide receiver, Hunter Moddon. I didn't actually plan on doing anything on Moddon when I was initially thinking of doing this video here a couple of weeks ago, but the blue chipper Clear Lake product around the Houston area has had a little bit of movement in this recruitment. A little bit of uncertainty, I think, as well for the Longhorns here in the last few months. Moddon was one of the early commits in the 2024 class. He committed last fall. I think it was like early September. Picked Texas over some other top schools, TCU, LSU, Texas A&M also in the mix. But there's been some other schools that have jumped in, and that Moddon has been clear that he wants to visit in the last few months. He took an unofficial visit to LSU in January. I covered that one on the site here a few months ago. LSU has been pretty persistent in this recruitment. I've understood that Texas A&M has been getting back involved. I think TCU is also going to try to continue to make a run at him as well. A lot of the buzz has been that there's not like a 100% likelihood that Moddon is going to remain firm to Texas. I'm not saying that he's someone to be watching to decommit here in the near future, but I think he's going to take his official visits during the summer or during the fall, and that he's going to be someone that, still considers other options and is looking at other schools here for the next few months. So just keep that in mind. He's someone that obviously Texas wants to keep in the 2024 class. He's the highest rated commit at the moment, but again, he's going to be a name to watch moving forward. But we'll continue to keep you covered on that. This is another one that, a few of these guys on this list I'm going to be keeping a close eye on for their recruitments moving forward, just because there, again, could be some craziness involved. And then the last name on this list is four-star wide receiver, Parker Livingstone. This is one of the hotter names for Texas here lately. I think one of the guys that Texas is trending in a positive direction for. Livingstone is someone that, for me, was kind of on the fringes of who Texas was going to try to take at wide receiver in the 2024 class here just a few months ago. But, Chris Jackson, Steve Sarkisian, I think even Jeff Banks is involved in this recruitment as well, have made it pretty clear that Livingstone is going to be one of their priorities in state at wide receiver in the 2024 class, and that, if he wants in, that he's going to have a spot. He was one of the more recent additions to the official visitor list for the summer. He will be visiting, sound like a broken record saying this, but one of the many official visitors for the weekend of June 24th. That'll be his second visit to Texas of 2023. He also visited, it was actually the week before the first junior day of the offseason, so January 14th. But, he's had great communication with Texas lately. I think among the in-state recruits in the 2024 class that Chris Jackson has really hit it off with, that Livingstone is one of the guys. But I'm kind of hinted at it earlier, and, this is someone that Sark likes as well. Livingstone, I believe, because he attends Lucas Lovejoy, so I think that was the same high school that Kyle Parker went to. And so, this is someone that Texas has seen for a while and, has been able to scout out and evaluate, for longer than when they offered him. But I think this is a recruitment that Texas feels good about. I think there are going to be some other schools, LSU, South Carolina, Arkansas, or three other schools that have official visits set right now. I think South Carolina is making a pretty good push. LSU is also still involved, but Texas, I think, holds the top spot in this recruitment. Again, if a favorite had to be named. There have also been a couple of recruiting analysts and national reporters that have put in forecasts here in the last few months for Texas to land Livingstone's commitment. So keep that in mind. There's multiple people here that have confidence on the Texas side. Again, from what I've heard, this one's trending in Texas's favor here lately. I believe they get the final official visit, so we'll see if Texas tries to make a move here to shut down this recruitment. heading into the summer because, again, Livingstone's going to be one of the guys. I think they're probably going to try to take 3 or 4 wide receivers in the 2024 class. At the moment, Livingstone looks like he will be one of them. But yeah, that's pretty much it that I had for this video. Like I said, wanted to get some brief updates out for some of Texas's top priorities post-spring ball, and as we're sitting in the midst of the spring evaluation period for the 2024, 2025, and 2026 recruiting classes. It's an important time for Texas on the recruiting trail. We're just a little over a month away from official visit season starting, so a lot of recruiting talk here coming up in the next couple of months. But for Andrew Miller at Hook'emHeadlines.com, that's pretty much it. Hook 'em.